Are you one of the many busy professionals working in offices day in and day out? Do you wonder how some people grow their wealth fast, retire early, and play on workdays? Well, you're in luck, because Ginny Bolling hosts this show, Pivot to Prosperity, where she interviews people that can do just that. Play on workdays. Many guests have become financially free. She also interviews people that are on their journey and people that are in support roles, like attorneys, contractors, brokers, and others. Commercial real estate is the common element. She is on a mission to be sure busy professionals know they can own substantial commercial properties too, like apartments, self-storage facilities, and others, and not have to do the work managing them. Passive investing is the key. Syndications are the typical method. Tax write-offs are some of the biggest rewards. Ginny and partners find the deals, build a strong team and business plan, then offer the investment opportunities to passive investors. New episodes are released every Tuesday at 12, so watch for new releases. If you want to get involved, let us know. You need to get pre-qualified to hear about most deals. See the show notes for contact information.
Hello. Ginny Bolling here with Pivot to Prosperity, brought to you by Pivotal Real Estate Investments, where we help investors build wealth and income through commercial real estate that also improves communities. And today we have Tim Davis with us. Tim, thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you, Jenny. Appreciate that.
I have known you since I finally joined CFRI, Central Florida Realty Investors, in 2017. I heard about CFRI in 2007 and wished to God I'd have joined then, but took a while. And yes, you have led the landlording focus group for the whole time that I know of. How long has it
Yeah, I
been?
think I started doing it in 2017 or 2018, something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, and I'm on the board now and overseeing the focus group, so it's really great to have somebody that's such a leader to lead that group. And I know a lot of people just love going to that meeting, and some good discussion on that. And you've been around the block with being in property management. Well, I didn't even ask you for your bio. Why don't you go ahead and give a brief summary of your background and
Sure,
where you're at?
sure. So I've been a landlord for a little while. I got my first rental when I was 18 years old. And I kind of accidentally fell into that. It was an interesting situation where my father had wanted to try his hand at being a landlord. And so he had a friend of his that actually was a great landlord, had hundreds of properties, and he helped him buy one, helped my dad buy one. And he was not a good landlord. And about a year into it, he came to me. He had a tax issue and he had to pay some taxes. And he said, "Hey, if you can loan me the money to pay the taxes, I'll give you these rental units." So it was basically a house and a mobile home. And I'm 18 years old and I'm like, I don't know anything about being a landlord, but it sounds interesting. So I bought my first rental property when I was 18, and
Where the taxes due, huh?
for his income taxes that were due. Yeah, it wasn't even the property tax. So, anyways, um, I was actually in construction at the time. I was a contractor or a carpenter contractor. And so I was able to fix rentals on my own because I knew how to do that. And so that came in kind of handy. And then I started doing some research and I started buying more and fixing stuff and flipping stuff and actually became a contractor and built a pretty big remodeling contracting business with a little bit of real estate on the side. And I did that up until 2008. And talk about a pivotal moment. 2008 was one of those that it just kind of floored us. We actually, um, I had a little shopping center that I had bought and I had remodeled it and we were trying to get it all rented up and the economy was looking really strange and our business was having a little issue with cash flow, and we ended up the bank that we were doing business with at the time, they ended up taking us and putting us in special assets because I told them that we might need to look at some of the loans that we had. They didn't like that. So they put us in special assets. They forced us into bankruptcy, and I had to reinvent myself in 2008. And when we did that, a friend of mine said, "Hey, you've always been good at real estate," because I had bought a few properties. I bought some commercial stuff, bought some rentals. It wasn't my main focus. It was just kind of like a side thing. But he said, "You've always been good at real estate. You should go get your real estate license." And I thought, it's not a bad idea. I need to do something. I just lost my business. I lost everything in bankruptcy. And I need to do something to feed my family. So I went and got a real estate license, thinking that I would be able to sell houses in 2008. And it was a little challenging, but I did sell some houses. And
Did you? Okay.
I went to work at Keller Williams. I went to their educational program, and we actually, my wife got her license also. So we had a little team going, and we got some listings, and we were doing okay. But it was very frustrating, and I did not like it. And so I said, what is it in real estate that I can do that I really would be good at? And I thought about, because I've had rentals in the past, I thought, why not property management? And so I did a little research, and I actually found a company that was selling franchises, and they had only been doing it for a couple years. And so I went to that company. I just had almost enough money to buy a franchise. And I was 45 years old, and I said, I need to buy this franchise. And so they made a deal with me, and they sold it to me. And we took that business. We didn't have any properties to manage at the time, but we took it, and over about a 15-year period, we built it up to about 700 rentals that we managed in two actual offices. And so during that time of managing other people's properties, I was seeing how much money I was making them. So about 2010, 2011 is when I started researching creative financing so I could buy properties creatively. And that's about the time I met my mentor, Augie Bylot, who was probably one of the most pivotal people in my life.
You get extra points, that's twice.
Yeah. And he taught me how to buy properties without using my own credit, without using my own money, because I didn't have any money. And I was able to amass a pretty large portfolio of properties within probably 3 or 4 years. I had about 100 properties that I had bought myself, and my property management company was managing them. And so I took those properties and I kind of sold off some of the bad ones and kept the good ones. So I got a nice little portfolio now that kicks off plenty of cash flow, and they're all managed by the property management company. So that's a little bit, that's kind of my history in a little nutshell there of how I got to be in the property management business.
That's amazing. I didn't quite gather all of that quite that way. That's interesting though. And so you didn't say the company name though, and where you are as of this week.
Well, the company is All County Polk Property Management and All County Metro Property Management. So there's two unique offices. One is in Polk County, and one is in Osceola County. And they manage property all over Central Florida. We have about 700 units. And actually, I just exited that company. As the owner, I sold it to David Sandow, who is a very sharp business guy. And we just actually closed the deal in April 1st. And so now I'm actually unemployed.
But you're voluntarily
Voluntarily unemployed. Yeah, I guess you could. Yeah.
That's great and very successful story. I know that there's a lot of people that have spoken very highly of how you manage properties and whatnot. I didn't end up having any that I needed for you to manage, but I ended up getting into the commercial end of it and more out of town. But in any case, I commend you for that. That's a big move, and so now you get to have even more freedom. And so tell us what you're looking to do now. You were talking offline, so want to share that in case
Yeah,
people have some deals to call you.
yeah, so over the years, I've done a lot of different things in real estate. I've actually done a couple of syndications. I know you talk about commercial and syndications. I've actually a general partner on a couple of syndicated deals. I'm a limited partner on about, I don't know, about a little over 1,000 doors. So I've got several of those. So I've kind of branched out into several different things. But I also about 5, 6 years ago, I started a private lending company. Took my excess capital and I started lending it out to people. Um, Mostly, I guess you'd consider it kind of a hard money loan. I do a lot of fix and flips for people and always looking for good, solid people that are good at what they do. Because I used to do a lot of fix and flips, so I know exactly what I'm looking for in a operator. And really, that's the most important thing when you got a deal is there's two things that are important. It's the operator and the asset. So everything else can be negotiated. But yeah, so we do that now. I buy notes. Um, just a lot of different things. I've kind of looked at everything in real estate and I've kind of said, hey, I can do that. I can do that, you know. And so you get a little education about it and then you learn how to do it and you just do it.
Real estate's amazing. There's so many aspects that you can get involved with. It's really
Absolutely.
addicting.
Absolutely.
Well, so why don't you tell people how much you're looking to lend and what your pre-qualifications might be in case somebody that's listening would like to give you a call?
Okay. So I like to do short-term deals, 6 months to a year. So if you're looking to fix and flip, you can usually get that done in 6 months, 6 to 9 months. Um, I like to stay in the affordable housing range because there are a lot more buyers in affordable housing. Um, when you start playing in the 500 and 600 and $700,000 houses, a lot less buyers. I've done some of those deals and I've sat on them for a long time. And I don't like those as much as the affordable housing. But if you're a serious fix and flipper and you've done, I like to look at people that have done a few deals and been successful at it. I'm not really interested in lending money to a newbie. Uh, Sorry. But yeah,
And up to how much?
if you've done a few deals, I will actually lend you all of the money to do your deal. And that's something that some lenders don't do. But I mean, we can work out a deal um, where I can lend all of the money for a deal and you don't have to do anything. Now there is going to be a little equity piece to that. So, there's some details that we'll have to talk about, but that is something that I do with a lot of my partners is I provide all of the money and they do all the work. They find the house, do all the work, and I provide all the cash. So something that if there's somebody out there that sees this and you're interested in talking to me, I'm open to talk to people. And Jenny, I think you're going to put my contact information up there at
I
the end.
am. Yeah, yeah, in the show notes, right?
Yeah.
So that'll work. And so you go up to what, potentially 350-ish, maybe
Yeah.
300?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, that's good to know. And then as far as buying notes, is that similar? Or do you go to a different category?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot of due diligence that has to go into a note. Obviously, the borrower of the note, the asset, all those things you have to take a close look at it so that you can understand you want to get your money back. But yeah, anybody that has a long-term note, we buy, we'll buy notes, we do hypothecations, we do um all kinds of different things with notes that anything that can be done with it, we can do. So,
Right. Well, that's very good to know. Definitely.
yeah.
All right. Well, so, and then looking back now, since you're free of having to think property management, it hasn't been that long yet, granted, just a couple of weeks. But where do you think, given the day of AI coming into the market so heavily, as well as after COVID, there was a lot of regulatory stuff. Where do you see property management going in the next, say, 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah, so I think certain areas are going to see different things. Right now in Florida, Florida's a very landlord friendly state. Um, I think that property management companies in Florida will do well. AI and the do it yourselfers. If it's a mom and pop and you got 15, 20 units, you can probably manage that with some of the tools that are out there without having to go to a property management company. But there's some companies out there. The one that I had was very oriented towards making sure that the landlord was taken care of and making sure that the landlord was getting the highest rate of return that they possibly could on their investment. I don't know, some of these cut rate ones where they'll charge you, you know, $50 a unit, or, $500 a year. Somebody told me the other day they had one that for $300 a year, they collect rent, and it's all automated,
It's
all
all
AI
automated
stuff.
then,
And
yeah.
I'm like, so who do you talk to if you have a problem? You can't talk to a chat bot. You only get so far with the chat bot. So, you got to have people that have some skills when it comes to, hey, how am I going to fix this septic system? Or how am I going to fix this, broken refrigerator or something? It's not going to be uh, AI generated stuff that's going to really help you there. So, but I think a lot of companies can use a lot of that stuff and kind of cut back on the number of employees that they have. We manage 700 units with about 8 employees. So it's very doable that you can do a lot of units with less people.
Right. And those were more in the affordable class, so you would tend to get more calls than in
A lot of times, yeah.
well, that's questionable because some of the people in the real expensive homes call over everything, right?
That's true. You want a concierge service, that's different.
Yeah, true, true. You probably were in the better class, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so did you ever use any kind of policy in your leases, say of if it's a repair under $100, you do it kind of thing?
No, I've being the facilitator of the um landlord focus group. I've heard a lot of people that have done stuff like that. I never thought it was a good idea, and here's why I think so. Because if you put a tenant in a property and you tell him, hey, anything that's less than $50 or $200 or whatever, you fix it. they're not going to fix it, and they'll let it go because they don't want to spend the money. It's not their property. They don't own it. And so I don't think it's a good idea to let them fix something no matter what the dollar figure is. Now, if they what our practice was is when they had something, they would call in and they would go through a process and get everything in writing what the problem was. Now, if it was something simple that they could fix, or if it was something that was their responsibility, the maintenance coordinator would actually walk them through the process. Like if it was a breaker that had tripped, we're going to explain to you how to walk over and fix it yourself, so we don't send an electrician out there and it costs us $175 to flip a breaker. Or if the toilet flapper is leaking, you can go to Home Depot and you can buy a toilet flapper for $9. We'll give you a credit on your next rent for $9 for the toilet flapper, but you could, and here's how you fix it. So there's that human element where you have that person that knows these simple things that can walk somebody through that. I think that's important in a property management setting, but I don't think it's a wise to tell them to fix anything that's under $200 or whatever that number is, because more than likely they won't do it. And then you'll end up with something that could damage the property down the road and cause a lot more damage than $200.
Totally agree. Totally.
Yeah.
What would you say was one of your best recommendations as a property management company to help your property owners to maximize ROI?
Best, let's see. I would say that one of the things that really was helpful is if we could get the property owner to trust us to price the property correctly. We really know the market. We really can understand what the market is. And a lot of times homeowners or owners would say, hey, I want you to rent it for $1,800 when we know that the market is 17. And that $100 off could lose you maybe a month's worth of time. If you set it there on the market and it's even $100 out of range, you won't get the applicants. You won't get people to, even look at it, because they know what they're willing to pay. So
Yeah,
that's one of the things that if they would just trust us, and most of our owners would, but you just trust us to price it correctly and we'll get it rented quickly. And that's the worst thing that a landlord can have is vacancy. Vacancy is very expensive. If you have a month's worth of vacancy, it could lose your whole profit for the year, depending on how,
absolutely.
what your expenses are and what your debt service is. So
Very true. Very true. Well, and I think that that's a great thing to end on too, because that's the critical piece. If you're going to own property, you got to have the income, and if it's vacant, you don't have the income.
that's right. That's right.
Well, it's super. Well, so at the end of interview, and we're at that point, I need to ask you, is there a pivotal person or event that either brought you to where you are today or that's pushing you towards a certain goal right now?
Yeah, I think I mentioned Augie Bylot, and I don't know if you've had him on your
I have not. I haven't.
well,
I'd
you
like
need
to.
to. Augie is an amazing person. Him and I, we partner on a lot of things now, but when I first met him, he was my mentor. And he taught me, and this is probably the biggest thing that helped me be able to retire at 60 years old, is he taught me how to be able to negotiate terms and use creative financing. That was probably one of the biggest pivotal things of my whole life, was that creative financing. I bought hundreds of properties without using a bank, without using my own money, without using my own credit. And he taught me how to negotiate that, and learning that allowed me to just put together a lot of real estate, which appreciated. And then later on, I was able to refinance them and pull some cash out, equity that I had in the properties, and I was able to use that to invest in other things. So, yeah, you need to have Augie Bylot on. He is probably one of the most fascinating guys. And right now, one of the things that he does, and I'll just mention this, is he's very active in Share the Love, which is a charity that I'm actually on the advisory board of, and we give wheelchairs to people that can't afford wheelchairs, mostly in third world countries. And we do humanitarian trips where we actually go out there and physically deliver the wheelchairs to these people. And it is amazing if you get to do something like that. That is life changing. I've done 2 trips. I'm going to go on another one this year. We're going to Kenya in June, and it's just an amazing thing to do. To see the lives that are changed just by getting an actual wheelchair that they can move a person that could not walk on their own. It takes 3 or 4 people to get that person around. I think they average 7 lives are changed for every wheelchair that we deliver.
That's amazing. I was just going to say, I know I've donated to the cause and seen some of the video. It makes you cry to see how people carry each other, or not each other. Of course, the person that needs the wheelchair can't carry, but carry these people for miles to come get their wheelchair.
Yeah, they
Miles
do.
and miles.
Yep.
It's phenomenal. It's a great charity. And
Yep. But get Augie to come on. He can talk about creative financing, and then he can tell you about Share the Love.
yeah, we'll do that. Definitely. And I'll tell him he's a pivotal person, and that he is, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, I think that I should nominate you myself, because you've been pivotal to a lot of people. So you're going to be a pivotal person too. I'm going to catch you with the lapel pin, and yeah, that you need to be recognized for all that you do, because you've volunteered since 2017 or 18, a lot of hours to lots of investors, and you've been such a pivotal person to a lot of people. So yes, I'm glad I
Well,
thought of that
I
while we're
do,
on.
and yeah, I do enjoy giving back to the community. I've got a lot of help from a lot of people, and I want to give back. So that's
Yeah,
one of the things that I do.
I'm so glad I thought of that before we go off the air. I would have gone, dang. Super. Okay. You are a pivotal person too. So you're going to have a little club here. Very good. Well, Tim, why don't you tell people how they can reach you?
Sure. Yeah, my email is tim@tagercapital.com. That's TAGER capital.com. And that's
Okay.
probably the best way. I mean, you could call me, but I don't always answer the phone. So,
All right. Well, that'll work. We'll put it in the show notes, and
all right.
definitely let you get a chance to look at and make sure that everything's there. And if you decide to include that, you can. But terrific. So thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it, Tim.
Very good. Thank you.